So, spoiler alert, the Bonneville Speedweek 2022 was canceled because of a massive amount of rain that poured down the opening day of the Bonneville Speedweek 2022 event. If you are not interested in hearing the sad story of the season's disappointing end and want to see the streamliners blasting down the 5-mile salt track in 2021, skip ahead to the 6-minute mark of this video because I'm posting up a Throwback Thursday edition video of last year's event. And it was a good one. Now back to the story. I always get a hotel room in Salt Lake City during the Bonneville Speed Week event because it is way cheaper than getting one in the nearest town of Wendover. And also I used to live in Salt Lake City back in the early 1990s, so it's neat to check things out during my downtime. But the only drawback is the near 2-hour drive between the two locations. When I left my hotel room in Salt Lake City, it was not raining. There was a strong chance in the forecast that it was going to be raining at the Salt Flats on the first day of the event. But when you are talking about such a large area of the Salt Flats, the rain clouds could actually miss the small target of the 5-mile area where the event is held. Or in desert areas, sometimes when it rains, it's just an annoying mist and not really a rain. So it was worth going out there and checking it out. As you can see in the video, as I got about halfway there, it was already starting to rain, and it was coming down pretty hard. So I was starting to wonder, how is this going to play out? Because they do say where the races are held, it is near the highest point out on the Salt Flats, so maybe the standing water will not be out there. Who knows, but it's worth checking out because I'm making over a 3,000-mile round trip to see this event. This curve in the road that I'm coming up on is the last stretch of land that you have before you get out on the Salt Flats, and they let racers and spectators set up tents and campers out here on BLM land if they do not want to get a hotel room or if they want a spot to be loud and have large parties. But today, as you can see, it's not much of a party. People are getting soaked, and when the salt gets wet, it is slippery like ice, and this area is actually lower than the road, so it is near impossible for most all of these vehicles to get out of there without getting stuck. They either have to wait till the salt dries up or get towed out, and they brought in this cat track vehicle to tow out all the people that were stuck. So now when I made it to the end of the road, in which they call it Land's End, before you get out to the Salt Flats, where you can pay to get out and spectate the races, the volunteers from the Southern California Timing Association, in which put on this whole event, were not letting people out on the Salt Flats, and for a good reason, because they would not get far without getting stuck. After talking to one of the volunteers and seeing the look of being worried and disappointed and the weight of all racers who have put in such an effort preparing all the cars and all the spectators who have traveled so far and sometimes from other countries, I could tell the last thing that they wanted to do was disappoint anyone and felt a great responsibility about this. I asked the guy if I could purchase a brochure and a pin for this year's race. The pin is an equivalent of a wristband that you would get to get into a race, and I collect them. The guy said to me, "Are you sure? I don't want to hear you complain about getting it and not being able to get into the event." And to be honest, I was more than happy to pay the entry fee as a donation because this group had put on such an effort to getting the track ready and setting up everything for such a big event. So now after I leave finding out that they are obviously not racing today because of standing water all over the track, I headed 10 miles west to the nearest town of Wendover, which is a border town to Utah and Nevada, and there's a lot of casinos there, but you also find a lot of the racers and race cars in town at the hotels. So I was hunting for some cool cars to see since the Salt Flat races were in limbo at the moment. So here's what I found. After finding some cool cars in Wendover, I headed back to Salt Lake City to wait and see if the event was going to be canceled or just delayed a few days for the water to recede from the salt flats. Late that night, a second storm passed through Bonneville, and it must have dumped a massive amount of water and left the salt flats 4 to 8 inches deep in salt water by the time Sunday morning arrived. After I saw the pictures coming in and how deep the water was in the pits area of Bonneville, I knew it was going to be called off. It might take a month for that amount of water to go away out there. So all in all, the only records that were broken in the 2022 Bonneville Speed Week was the storm and the amount of water that fell. So stay tuned to watch and enjoy this Throwback Thursday edition of the 2021 Bonneville Speed Week.
He had engine problems turned in, and he needed a pretty good root house, about a half an hour there between the first and that. Where did they stop slowing down, I guess? Get him some seat. No, it's purpose built for out here. It's very big, it's very heavy, built very, you know, it just. Like a hot rod don't feel but that just don't I never seen
So the inside of the door is all ports and electric.
SCTA modified gas motorcycle, leading age under the 18 qualified category. 80 modified